Mic's on. Okay, we're going to call to order the Thursday, August 1st, 2019 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting at 6 p.m.
Okay,
And-
roll call, Marguerite Comerford,
C-O-M.
Comerford, and Raquel
Here, present.
Dunas,
Dwayne, yes.
and Ryan Firestone, absent. Sage Intner,
Here?
Eric Jacobson is also absent. Patrick Murphy,
I'm here. That's the easiest name of the group.
Susie Taylor is absent.
Okay, and we are going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So we would open it up for general public comments if we have any non-agendized public comments at this time. It doesn't look like it. So presentations, we are welcoming Renee Peace as our new recreation manager, and I would love to have you introduce yourself a little for everybody.
My name is Renee Peace, and I've been here for 3 weeks.
Time's flying by.
Time's flying by. I've learned a lot. Staff is great. A lot of support. Love being here at the city.
You wanna-
Always enjoyed many events here with my kids and family. And I came from Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District. I was in charge of Oak Park, which is an unincorporated area in Ventura, and after-school clubs, and also in charge of aquatics and recreation and banquet facilities and summer camps, seasonal camps, specialty classes, everything.
After school, yeah, you have all kinds of,
After-school clubs,
yeah.
preschools.
Well, it's great to have you, and your experience is broad and very helpful, so we look forward to having you help us move forward, and you already are working on that.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody want to ask any questions, or? All right. Okay, it does not look like we're going to have a police department report tonight, so I don't believe we're going to have a public works report either.
It's summer.
I know.
Renee, did you have a public works report, or
Oh, you got one, okay.
I thought maybe she'd have an
I
update?
actually do not.
Okay.
Never mind, sorry.
And so then, have people had an opportunity to look at the minutes? We have 2 sets. We have the May set and the June set. And if there are any changes or questions.
I didn't see anything that looked off.
Thank you for getting those together, Allison.
Of course, sorry they were delayed.
No, they look good.
So I move that the minutes for May and June be accepted as written.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, got a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, minutes are approved. Okay, we're on to discussion items, and the first discussion item is pickleball. And do we have any public comment for that item?
Put in a card for one. I'd just like to make a quick comment, if I may.
Uh-huh.
As all you know, I'm Tim Kraut, and I started this pickleball business a couple years ago in town, so now it's come to this point. And I just want to thank the commission for all their work, all their efforts in working with us. And I'm glad to see that there is some progress being made. And I'm here if you need me, and if you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
So, Tim, at this point, are you just playing at Matilaha right now, or are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just playing there.
And mornings and evenings, I think I saw, right?
Yes, and I'm getting ready to close the morning sessions so
Okay.
that I can have a little time with my wife.
Good choice.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Now, Renee, would you like to give a quick report? Renee did come on, how many days had you been here before the ad hoc committee started? Not long, but she started with this from the beginning of the ad hoc committee.
5 days, but
Yeah.
Ranchosini, we just went through the whole pickleball thing, and then Oak Park did too, so I'm very familiar with it. So I'm just here to recap the discussion for pickleball. We have an ad hoc committee now, and there's 2 representatives from pickleball, 2 from the community, 2 from tennis, and we believe that the representation is a good one for the city and for this topic. And as I put in my report, there's a favorable option currently right now, discussed with the committee, and some research with a subcommittee now to take the existing tennis courts adjacent to City Hall and just refurbish them. And so Public Works is working on the costs, and Tim and I and a couple other members, we actually have a committee list that I just gave the chair, so if you need contacts for that subcommittee and the ad hoc committee, we have that available. And we're just working on all the aspects on it regarding the subject. So we have everything from, we have a subcommittee on public outreach and
Site work and construction, all things having to do with that, and then also fundraising.
So do we have any sort of a time frame? Has there been a goal date established that we'd like to have this up and running by X?
Go ahead.
there is not, as soon as we can. The research that's being done by the subcommittee from the ad hoc, we're getting together, we're meeting every 2 weeks. So we're meeting again next week, and then we have another scheduled meeting in 2 weeks after that, and then hopefully by then, we'll have all the costs. They'll be more finalized with contractors, coming in or companies to tell us how much it will be for the surface, and we already have a pretty good idea, but it'll be narrowed down, and then we're working on fundraising, and so we hope to have the idea down. I know that we're going, or the ideas for construction and maybe some timelines, but that will be discussed, I would say, we'll get closer to that in August.
I mean, are we anticipating it within the next calendar year or 6 months, or hopefully it's not going to be the skate park where it's 20 years before it gets, that's my, in my eyes, if you set a date, there's motivation to get everything done by the date. If you don't, it's just open-ended, and there's committees to talk to committees to talk to committees, and I've been preaching this for a while.
Yeah, no, I can tell you that there are definite deadlines for this next week's meeting, and they're very specific requests
Okay.
for costs and what are we going to do for construction. I mean, it's very specific questions that we're
Okay.
hoping to have answered. I really think that hopefully, if we can move at the pace we're moving, we may want to do a special meeting toward the end of August, if we have enough information, to do some public outreach, so that we are not holding it up at any point.
Yeah, it would just be nice to get it done and I know everybody's goal is to get it done as rapidly as possible, particularly for the pickleball people, since pretty soon they're going to be isolated to that one court for a couple hours a day, right? Basically, when the time changes.
I think
There's not
the
much
committee,
availability.
everyone is very motivated
Yeah.
from all the different
Yeah.
backgrounds to do the right project, to move as quickly as we can while making sure that what we're doing is the most prudent decision for both the short and long term.
Is the project you worked on in Oak Park with the pickleball, are you running up against the same hurdles up there that we're talking about here? Or is it completely different?
We did not have the availability of any kind of land or any kind of tennis court.
Okay.
And I think that the city, to be able to have something that we can use and not start all over
Right.
again, one, it saves hundreds of thousands, and two, I feel that we're very fortunate to have
Yeah,
Extremely fortunate.
agreed.
Something that we're even looking at, and it seems like it's very favorable.
Yep.
All of the committee.
Very positive.
The ad hoc committee, and
Okay.
we're all for it.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for Tim. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that the town has already decided to give the pickleball committee money to help with this construction of renovating the court.
Has decided to give us money? No,
No?
no. Is that
Yeah,
all that you had?
I mean, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other comments, questions?
Maybe you, Sage, might give us an indication of the questions that are going to be asked at the meeting, because we're not going to be there. Can you do that?
Not asked, but maybe so much answered, because we had a set of questions that hopefully people are going to come back with. We're looking at specific costs and timing for asphalt and what it would take to do that. Looking at preparing the site as far as anything that needs to be done with tree trimming or any other, and then we're looking also at, as we look at that site, maybe looking at the bigger picture of the whole City Hall site, so that when we redo, when those courts get done, maybe making it so that the, I don't know if stanchion is the right term, but instead of being a permanent pole,
Yep.
something you could pull out and then cap so that it could be used possibly for other events when it's not being used as a pickleball court. So there's a lot of questions that we've asked of staff and of members of the committees to come back and answer.
Okay.
Is there something specific you're interested in?
No, I just want to know, that's all, because I think we've been in the dark.
Well,
Well,
very.
I know I've been in the dark, let's put it that way.
Well, I wasn't able to go to the first meeting. The second meeting was my first meeting that I was at, and there were not a lot of hard and fast answers to questions. There were more questions than there were answers. But they also formed the subcommittees to start specifically working on those.
I think the key is, it seems like we've isolated where we
Yep.
want it to be.
Which is a huge step.
Which is a huge step.
We've
right.
narrowed down that we have a location that everyone feels is a good fit, the city is on board with, and the city staff supports it as a location. So now it's answering a lot of questions as to the best way to get to functional courts and a safe environment to play in.
And I think too, as quickly as we can isolate the costs, we should be looking at what's the best way to fundraise at that point. Who do we contact? How is that going to work? Is it going to be through the city? To your question about, is the city going to pay for it or not? If they are, how much? And if not, how much is left to fundraise? And then how are we going to go about doing that?
And really, the thing about that is we can't really work toward numbers if we don't have
Right.
costs. So really, the big work and the big push right now, and hopefully we'll have some pretty good information as of next Thursday, is what the costs are for the different pieces that have been identified that need to be accomplished to put the project together. Because at that point, we already have someone on the committee who's interested in fundraising and sounds incredibly capable, so that's wonderful.
And there might be a good possibility for a lot of volunteer work to get some of this stuff done.
It's already been volunteered.
Yeah,
People have already
perfect.
volunteered,
Yeah.
to remove, as trimming's happening or different things to come in and do that.
Yeah.
It sounds like, but it hasn't been fleshed out, that there's a possibility that there's a crew who's willing to finish the surfacing, to do the painting, to do the lining, to do all of those kinds of things. I think it's going to be a wonderful project. It's
Yeah.
the kind we love in Ojai, with in-kind donations of labor
Mm-hmm.
and all those things that make our best projects, like the playground and those other things where
Yeah.
people are involved. So none of that's been nailed down. We don't have enough details. I mean, there's still just a lot up in the air, and it's hard to move too far forward on those other fronts, because as far as grants, looking into those.
Yeah.
But you can't look into a grant till you have a package of
Right.
what your costs are going to be.
Right.
And but we are collecting all the information about the possibility for in-kind donations of labor and time, because those are hugely helpful when you go ask for grants and donations, because they love when you already have people donating and matching. So, and I don't have, the costs are going to be less than I ever expected. I'll tell you that. I don't have a number, but well less than what I had expected. So it's not a number that's insurmountable, it doesn't seem.
Well, the biggest cost is the actual piece of property, which we already have. And that's a huge, in essence, for lack of a better word, gift.
Right.
That we've been given there. And then, and I like your idea about the removable stanchions, because at one point that was used as folk dancing.
Exactly.
So there is some multiple uses that could be.
We need to look at it as part of this larger property.
Yeah.
That's going to undergo a transition as well, hopefully a transformation with the gardens and the other part, and this will be one piece of a larger project.
With the idea that the main use of it will be for the
Oh,
pickleball.
absolutely.
Right. Yep. Perfect.
So by our next meeting in September, I'm confident there'll be a lot to report, and if it feels like we're the ones holding it up, if we have a pretty good plan
Yeah.
before then, which is very ambitious, but if that's the case, it might be worth trying to have a special meeting just on this and getting, and also use it as an outreach tool to, invite people in to talk about
Yeah,
pickleball.
and I don't want to speak for them, but I did get the impression from talking to a couple of the council people that they're on board. They just need a framework.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't see, from my perspective right now, having been to my one committee meeting, I don't see any hurdles that are insurmountable or difficult. I think everything can be addressed, and there's been discussed, and is being discussed. It's very exciting. Anything else? Okay.
Sorry, I do have one question.
Okay.
Another one for Tim.
Yes.
Tim, how
Uh-huh.
do all the pickleball members feel about doing fundraising, about working together as a group? Are they for that? I mean, will they do that, as a group, organize, the fundraising that's gonna be definitely needed?
Sure, absolutely. Actually, I just filled out, or had a lot of the members have already filled out volunteer forms
Good.
to assist.
Yep.
So prior to us working here, the Public Works Director, Greg Grant, said
Yeah.
those forms need to be filled out. So I've got about, I think, 10 or 15 forms that are signed by members of the club and have returned them to Greg. They are donating to our cause right now as far as paying for nets, buying new balls, replacing paddles. So they're doing that now on a donation basis only. So they're giving right now just to keep it going on our own.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, for the future is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because
why we're-
I think to have a committee that is very strong for fundraising will really help you tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to come from your members to start with, and then people outside of that, they will say, oh, wow, they're really working hard on this, I think I'm gonna help them.
Yeah. Well, at the ad hoc committee meetings, I've said we're ready, willing, and able.
Good.
So,
Well, I mean, I wasn't there, so I'm just asking those questions.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Capital improvement plan.
I told Renee that I would take this one since, not to throw too much at her at once, because this is a little bit of a beast of a document, but
Yes.
I believe you've all seen this before, maybe with the exception of Raquel. So what you're looking at is the Parks and Recreation Commission's specific project list that kind of mirrors the city's CIP. So you can see our list of all of our projects that are kind of in our purview. And then there's 2 columns for each fiscal year, one that is the PRC's recommendations and priorities, and the other that is the official city CIP. So I did update this with our most up-to-date CIP, and based off of your meeting, was it last meeting or 2 meetings ago, where you made some recommendations
May,
for this. So we just wanted to bring it back and show you guys those updates. I think most exciting change on here will probably be for you guys the Sarasota multi-sport courts. You can see that you guys had requested that it be $260,000, and the CIP was at 0 at one point, I believe, and so they did officially put it in the CIP as $275,000. I think that's an updated estimate as to what
that was
that
updated from
cost will
Greg.
be. And so that's an exciting one. And then I just moved a few other things around, but if you have any questions on it, let me know.
So to be really, really clear, that's 2 courts.
Yes,
Just so that it was what we asked for.
Yeah.
correct.
It's the full funding that we requested.
So the question for me is, with this now lining up pretty much on the CIP, does that mean that in the year 2019, 2020, these courts are going to get made?
So I have the answer to that.
Oh, nice.
I spoke to Greg from Public Works, and he said, no anticipated date yet.
Okay.
The ATP and city paving projects are priority.
That's,
But the money is
Money is there,
allocated,
yeah.
so if they're able to find the staff time within the fiscal year, it would theoretically be worked on, or that money would roll over to next fiscal year. So it's no longer about money, but about,
Question for Commissioner that's a pretty accurate figure?
Yeah.
The 275?
Yeah. Yeah, depending, well, with the city doing the work,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're gonna do it with a private company, it's gonna be considerably more than that.
Absolutely, that's what I
But,
had to
yeah,
know, yeah.
and that's
So-
where the timeline gets, in my opinion, gets a little bit skewed.
Okay.
Because we have to wait on this project to get done and that project to get done, as opposed to hiring a business and spending $1 million to get the same thing done.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, that's
fiscally, that's
understandable.
responsible to do it this way.
Yeah, okay.
Right. My attention to detail is I want it done yesterday. And everybody on this committee knows that's a pet peeve of mine, that everything
Well, I
takes too
know.
long,
I
but,
just didn't know if that was, you know,
yeah.
that.
No, that's
accurate.
incredibly reasonable.
To me,
Yeah.
it seems so low, you know, so.
Well, and you never know what you might run into,
Right.
but from a tennis court or basketball court building standpoint,
Yeah.
that's an incredibly reasonable number.
Very. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we also ought to consider moving pickleball to 2019, 2020.
From,
Unknown in 2021.
yeah, and
It's not of great importance, but
And I don't want to throw a huge big wrench in this whole thing, but if it's going to be a year or more before these pickleball courts are this is gonna get completed, we may want to revisit temporarily using one of the Libby Park courts, because we're gonna run out of court space.
Let's not do that.
Well,
Let's not get into that.
As I said, it's,
Let's just go with what
the
we've
same.
got. Let's go with what we've got.
Okay.
You have your meetings all set up, you've got, everyone is happy, they're all working towards this, you'll get it done. But don't throw that into the picture right now.
I just was mentioning it
that's,
as
it's fine.
as an option, that's all.
No, I don't think you should.
I-
Okay, any other comments or questions about the CIP? All right, moving on, joint meeting. Oh.
I had a card in for this item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, Tim, public comment. We skipped right by you.
8B.
Yes, 8B. Please come on up.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay, that's okay. No, again, I just wanted to say thank you to all the commissioners and staff for all that they've done on this, helping us along with this short-term event. I do think that as rapidly as this sport is growing, that we're going to outgrow this court probably real quick. Given that, let's see, Rancho Caneo Park District, about 2 years ago, they built 6 brand-new courts, $528,000 for 6 courts. They've outgrown those already. They now have on the chain link fence paddle holders where a person has to put their paddle now in line and wait to use one of those
Like a
courts.
challenge court kind of a,
What, just to
Just
use
to
a
get a
court.
spot?
To
Yeah.
get a spot, just to get a spot.
Yeah.
So, and that's at each court that you have to put these paddles up, I mean, your paddle. So in 2 years, they've outgrown that, okay? Santa Barbara's getting ready to redo another court, another tennis court for 4 more dedicated courts. That would be 12 dedicated courts. And still in between number 1 tennis court and number 11, you've got 5 or 6 tennis courts that are still empty. So
Well,
This-
that's different though, excuse me, Tim. Santa Barbara's quite different from the way they approach.
Well, all I'm
let's let him
saying
finish
is,
his public comment, and then we'll.
yeah, all I'm saying is in this 5-year capital project that you're discussing right now,
Yeah.
keep in mind that every place else has just outgrown itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the comment.
I think the point to Tim's comment is it's better off to be proactive than reactive. And we can look long-term, or we can wait and then be stuck under the gun. But I think once these courts are done, we can start looking at other options. The main goal was to find you some space, right? And I think we're getting there.
We're focused.
The second step in this process is probably going to be, where can we find more courts and more land? And that's probably going to be a 2 or 3 year or whatever, how long it ever takes to do it. I think we're exploring those options if we can ever incorporate Soul Park, if we can ever do some other things into our purview. That'll change that dynamic a little bit. But it's kind of baby steps at this point. Just because there's finding space in Ojai for anything is difficult. But we're working towards that.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Joint meeting. So this is really just the beginning of our discussion on preparing our presentation of those things we would like to discuss with city council when we have our once yearly joint meeting. So Brian did a great job last year. We have a great template. Allison also did a great job.
Yeah.
We're working off of. So a lot of that stuff will stay the same, but are there other things that we would like to highlight specifically from this year that we'd like to talk about?
Well, I think the pickleball situation
Pickleball.
for sure.
Yes.
I think the sport courts to revisit that. I
Yep.
mean, any of the projects that aren't completed yet, or even some that are should be highlighted in that presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Also a swimming pool.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tricky one, but it's the same thing. But yeah, we gotta figure out.
I-
Swimming pool is absolutely everywhere I go
Mhm.
in town. It's swimming pool is number one.
It's the same item as where do you, it's
Well,
find a spot.
I think as we talk about our committee work, that is one of our committees, and so we can
Yeah.
talk about the committee work that's been done as part of the presentation.
Yeah.
And it's also still on our CIP.
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
long-term
and
goal.
that
So
is
it'll
a
be
great
represented
one.
in both of those will have an opportunity to bring up the swimming
Yeah.
pool. The usual Ojai Day, we'll have some in there, our open house.
And I know there's been a lot of conversation, not necessarily within this committee, but in town about bike trails and what we can do with that, increasing those. I'm not a huge bike guy, so I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna play out, but, it might be something that's gonna come up in the next year in
And
front of us.
maybe we should be looking at that to put on our agenda,
Yeah, that's probably,
more than the joint meeting.
yeah, that's probably
Or
true.
maybe it comes on both,
Yeah.
but maybe what we're saying is we need to work on that and get a
Yeah,
little more
there's just been
educated and focus on
A bunch
it.
of conversations about how we can improve that, the bicycle safety
Mm-hmm.
and the access to downtown with bicycles.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, so maybe we
Yeah.
need to have it as an agenda items and educate ourselves and see where we fit in that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
I think it should be brought up, though. We had that gal, what is her name, that came in and discussed the biking here in town, how dangerous.
That was
I think it was
Susan,
Susan.
wasn't
She's a
Councilman
council
Wasn't that
member.
Cena,
council- yeah, Susan.
She was, because I spoke with her afterwards and spoke with her, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. And, something really needs to be done about that because it's not safe for the kids at
Yeah.
what they have to go through with their bikes. And, I
I'll
mean,
let it-
biking here is so important. I mean, it's easy, it's, you're saving, on our environment. I mean, there's so many pluses. How do you feel about it, in the high school?
In the high school, it's definitely difficult to get around because you can't access like the surface streets.
Yeah.
And typically after school, that's where everyone would go. They want to go like to Revel, like the kombucha bar, or even just Ojai Pizza. And it's hard to access with all the surface streets and how the sidewalks are so small and you're not allowed to ride your bikes on there. So I can get that point of view because you're not supposed to. But I definitely enjoy the bike trails because I personally like getting back and forth without having to think about getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know how to the bike trails are definitely useful, and I think improving that way and maybe getting like the crossways more noticeable because I feel like that's a
Yes.
very dangerous point is trying to cross the street because they're so hidden by trees.
And we're in good shape on that in that there's a huge project that's coming up to really change dramatically.
That's the ATP that Greg was
Yes.
mentioning is the priority right now for Public Works, is
Right.
the active transportation program.
And there's a
that's
huge
Councilwoman
portion of it that will be
Francina has been
happening
really involved in. and-
in front of Nordoff.
Mhm, yeah.
In that area,
It's
it's
a
going
huge
to change
project there, yeah.
dramatically.
And some of it, I
Yes.
think, haven't they, on a temporary basis?
The crosswalks and such.
Yeah, yeah, which is a big help. But and that's only one part of it. And a lot for the more experienced bicyclists, access to the downtown area, and there's problems with that.
Now,
Again, I don't know enough about it to make an intelligent comment, but I just know the conversation is growing
I
within the
absolutely
valley.
think we should agendize it.
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
we should have a
It's
discussion.
extremely important
Yep.
for all ages because I'm a biker. I bike everywhere. And the signage is terrible. And the clarification as to who has the right of way
Yeah.
is non-existent. So, I mean, you do take your life in your hands, especially if you're biking downtown the way I do. You're safe on the bike trail, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except for you have people that insist on running you over when they should be walking, you know, when they
Yeah.
should be stopping. And that I want to bring up with the town myself, because I've been almost hit, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times on Baldwin Road. You know, because people want to quickly make
Yeah.
that turn, even though you, as a biker or a walker, have the right of way. So it's dangerous.
Yeah, I live right on that corner, so
Okay,
I
so you
know
know.
exactly how that, and it's unfortunate because when the light's green and you're trying to make a right from 33 onto Baldwin, you just want to go, but then you forget that there's bicyclists
Exactly.
coming down that path, and it's an accident waiting to happen,
It
in
is,
my opinion.
for sure. Because,
But,
I mean, it's been very close.
again, I think that might be outside
That's outside the city limits.
so it's
Yeah.
outside our
That's why
purview.
I
Yeah.
said
Right.
I'm going to do that on a
Yeah,
personal level.
but Sage, I think you're right.
I think it needs to be an agenda item.
Agendizing it,
Yep.
and then we'll all be able to do a little research between now and then.
Well, and we may ask certain people to come present
Yeah,
who are working on
agreed.
some of these
Yeah.
committees and update us on
great idea.
what's currently underway, because I think there's a lot more than most people understand that's
Mm-hmm.
coming and been proposed and absolutely adopted at this point.
Well-
Quite a bit of it has funding behind it, so.
And you're gonna wanna get comments from the merchants on how, if you do that, how is it gonna affect their business, if you limit the number of
Well,
cars
all,
I think
of,
that's-
all of those conversations are happening.
At the
Right,
city, at the,
right,
ci-
yep.
and I don't know that that is within our purview.
No.
But it is within our purview to know what's happening.
Right.
And to see where we can assist with connectivity or feedback on access to parks and how we could better improve that as part of these other
Well,
systems.
when it comes up to the council in a meeting and people make comments, they're gonna send it to us anyway, right? As give us some recommendations on how to do it. So it's
Yeah.
going to come up at some point, we might as well get ahead of it.
Absolutely. I think it's a great agenda item.
Okay, perfect.
So any other things we want to present that we can start working on for our joint meeting? This is just the first discussion. We'll add more to this as we go.
Certainly
I've
what's.
got pickleball, sports courts,
Yep.
swimming pool,
And
Ojai
the
Day,
summer
open
pro-
house.
The summer program at the rec department, a kind of a wrap up of that.
And
would be
then,
great.
one thing we did last year was new programs.
Mm-hmm.
And programs we no longer have. And I think that's a good one to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, may I ask, Allison? Allison, how was your summer so far in comparison to last year or the year before?
Well, we're going to get to that in
Yeah, I
our
think
report
Renee
in the
actually has an
future meeting.
update for that
There'll
when
be an
we
update.
get to
We're not there yet.
staff reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still in joint meeting if anyone else has anything. Okay, then we can move on. And now we're on to recreation staff reports and updates. And so I'll hand it back over to Renee and Allison, however you're sharing it.
She's got it.
Well, I'm sure Allison can add to this. But programs and events, I can tell you with the day camps, that the gross revenue for day camp, we did a lot, we grew the camp this summer. And Allison and staff grew the staff, grew the camp this summer. There's gonna be approximately $20,000 more for gross revenue, and that equals out to around 216 more registrations.
Okay.
Doesn't mean there's more families coming in. There are a few, but that because we take daily registration, weekly
Yeah.
registration, 2 or 3 days, then that it's around 216 more registrations. So
That's great.
I was
That's good.
happy.
That's
I was
good.
Mm-hmm.
just coming in new. I thought that was really that was a nice report.
And can I ask a question about that? So it would, with the number of families seemingly shrinking
Mm-hmm.
within the Ojai Valley, what do you think the reason for the uptick in registration is?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've been kind of thinking about that too, and noticing this summer in particular, we have a lot more young campers. And it's gone back and forth each week, but our number of 5 and 6 year olds exponentially exceeds our 12, 13 year olds. So I do think we do have young families coming into Ojai. It looks a lot different than it used to, but we do have, a lot of them are coming up from LA or are coming from other areas and just moved to Ojai. So we do have quite a few young families there. So it's been an interesting summer. We have a lot younger campers than we've had in the past. But
It'll be interesting to see if that continues through the winter
Right.
and into next summer, whether they continue with the program. So that's good to know.
right,
And it's interesting, I've met families who are here just for the summer.
that's
You have,
true.
you have people who are
I've
here.
had that as well. Yeah.
Who are registering, or they have grandkids coming, or a variety of different, which is
That's
wonderful.
a big number, 216? That's a big number.
Well, yeah, but it's
That's
also important to
individual
know.
like days,
Yeah.
like
Oh, it's not.
No,
that's
it's
not
not individual.
216
That,
people.
okay,
No,
thank
no.
you.
So
Thanks for
maybe
that
maybe
clarification.
instead of doing, like, maybe last year they did 2 days of camp every week, and this year they
Got
did
it.
4 or 5. That would,
Right.
every week would add
Yeah.
that many more for that one
That
kid.
makes better,
so-
thank you for
Right.
that. That makes
So,
better
yeah,
sense to me.
on a daily, we're averaging about 50, 55.
Okay.
Which
And
is, I haven't looked at the average versus last year, but it definitely feels like more campers. We spiked up to 67 one day, which I've never seen us go over like 55, I don't think.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's all good news.
Yep.
But they're consistent with the numbers, which is good.
right.
Yeah.
The school is, happening,
Soon,
pretty soon.
very
so
soon.
Right.
To see those numbers still.
Yeah,
it's-
we haven't really dropped
and-
off.
And that's the part that's surprising to me, because the enrollment in the different schools is shrinking, where it seems like we're closing a school every
Right.
3 or 4 years around here.
Yeah.
And to have those numbers go up is encouraging.
Right.
For the rec department programs as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's good.
It also could be, just on an advertising basis, like we're still, it still hasn't been that long since we started mailing our guides.
Right.
So that was a huge bump in a lot of our programs. And then word of mouth is huge on advertising for us. So it could just be more people know about us.
Whatever it is, it's good news.
They
Yeah.
have good staff.
Yeah,
Just
we're very lucky.
They're
watching
phenomenal staff this year.
Counselors and the director of the camp that we have, and with Allison's help, it's just, the staff is really good.
Yeah, we're lucky in that regard.
If you guys haven't been around there, come at noon on a weekday, come by the playground and see our staff and kids. It's a lot of fun.
When does the program run through?
August 16th is our final day.
Thank you.
I'm realizing that we have Ojai Day on here, and I'm hoping that you will share
Oh, boy.
about
Yeah.
pickleball, because we didn't hit that. I was gonna hit it at the
Yes,
committee
I've
level,
already started.
but good, okay.
Well, if you want, we can skip actually the revenue and inspection. I apologize for that. I just copied an old agenda, so we're gonna skip that.
That's
So we'll
okay.
skip
Yep.
item B. We're gonna eliminate it.
All right. So then we can go on to Ojai Day. And,
Well, it is scheduled for October 19th,
Mhm.
and we met with Amber. And then do you have anything else before I get into what we're doing new this year? Do you have anything to say about the meetings or something new with activities other than?
it's time, it's open, people can register
Yep.
now for
Yep, so
booths
vendor
and-
applications are
okay.
still open. I don't know what the deadline is off the top of my head,
Okay.
but ojaiday.com, we are doing online applications this year. I don't know if I
Excellent.
told this committee that yet, but we made that switch,
Very
which is
nice.
incredibly helpful just from a staff viewpoint of being able to not do as much data entry. Has been fantastic. So of course, there's been a couple bugs with that, as always, when you do something new, but it's been overall really great. So yeah, I'll try and have some numbers for you at our next meeting as to how many vendors we have so far and how all that stuff's looking. But overall, we're excited. It's going to be a great event.
And as always, it'll be the front cover of the new activity guide, and that
Right.
will be out, we're hoping, in a couple of weeks. Definitely before, September 1st. And just to add to that, we thought that it'd be a good idea talking about public outreach for pickleball to, Tim had done last year with other members. And they did a pickleball event, which exhibition, and a little instruction, and they were kind enough to donate some paddles and all kinds of things. So they've already got the ball rolling, but we're gonna continue on it, and so it's gonna be the back cover to get a little bit more attention. And Tim and I right now are going for in-kind donations for the event, and so that it will be free and free raffle, and it's gonna be from 10 to, did we say 10 to
On Ojai Day? And where is it gonna be located?
Court 3 and 4.
Yeah,
Or you're gonna be at Libby?
yeah.
And that's where they did it last year. So we're gonna do it this year. And we also thought it would be a good idea, just talking about the timing and when it's gonna be built. Hopefully by Ojai Days, maybe we can have, maybe Public Works can have a diagram of what the current tennis court might look like
That's a good idea.
to convert it into a pickleball.
Yeah.
And they'll be on stanchions or, signboards on the courts around the area so that the public can see where it's going to go.
Right.
And
That's a
so
great
that's
idea.
what we're working
Now,
on.
this is just a thought. Court 3 and 4 it's sort of out of the mainstream of Ojai Day, right? Off of the main street. We did this last year?
Correct.
Same two courts? What was the response
It was,
like?
it was
I
busy.
think it was like
Was it?
50 people, I think you said.
Oh,
50
at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
The court right beside us on court number 1 was the Quick Start.
right.
They had 0 people that day. Actually, the guy that was doing the Quick Start came over and was playing with us.
That's always good. Yeah.
That's
It-
what he did. So we had probably at least 50 kids. We had kids come in from Wheel Academy.
Yeah,
playing with us.
right.
So, and we had a mix of young and adult.
You had all ages.
We did.
Okay.
And we can also do like some signage and stuff to make sure to be
Right.
pointing people.
Yes,
that
because last year it
direction as
was
well.
just if they came and asked. I
Right.
mean, you guys had some flyers, but there really wasn't signage. People just
No.
would come and ask because they're like,
Right.
oh, what is that? And then they would come and play.
Because I was just curious whether it might be more successful to just outline a court on the street and play from there, but probably not.
There was some talk about that.
Yeah.
But the problem is that.
It's not flat enough?
You're correct.
Yeah,
And the
okay.
ball, to even get to the other person,
Got
it
it.
has to be so smooth.
Yeah,
And so we
okay.
have to, like,
Just a,
we did think about that too, though. That
Okay.
would be nice.
I love the idea of having a big thing down there and having people come down and play and, yeah. I gotta try and get that weekend off.
So we didn't mention that earlier, but
Yeah.
that's underway.
One of the things that I think should be improved upon, however, is for Ojai Day, is our representation as the partner.
Yeah, that's,
We
Yeah.
do not represent the way we feel. You know what I mean?
We have an answer to that.
Oh, what is it?
So when we met with Amber, thank you. When we met with Amber, she did invite the city council and the commissioners to have tables and chairs so that you can actually be out there meeting the public, and we could have some new programs from flyers for you to give out. That would be a great opportunity.
So would it be moving? Because we used to be in the middle with the youth activities, and then this last year we were at the very end of Ojai Avenue where it
Right.
ended.
Yeah, so we've done a couple different things in the past. And I think last year we ended up just inviting you guys to be a part of our, like the rec department's booth. And I think you guys got a little bit lost in that just because there was so much happening down there. But Amber's vision is to really do like a, come, meet your local government type area around the
Right.
fountain.
Which is where they were
Exactly. So
previously.
we're looking for you guys, if you're interested, to have a Parks and Rec Commission booth
Mm-hmm.
in that fountain area. And she's going to be also inviting other commissions and city council and such to also have booths in the area.
Have the city council there with us.
It-
That would
So
be-
they would have their own booth in the same area.
Booth in the same area.
Exactly.
That would be excellent. And
The-
I think
Yeah,
that
so that's kind of the
we
vision.
can Kind of, push that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, so that's the vision that we're working on.
The last time they did that was an election year.
Yeah, so it's happened during election
Yes,
years.
it's always happened
that
during
ends
election
up
years.
and that ends up being the people who are running for positions have a booth, but since it's not an election
Right.
year, it's a good
Use
opportunity
the same
for,
idea, but yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Because
That's
all you
great.
want is the interaction. It's a chance for the public to
Right.
To share.
come in and discuss with you what their wants and needs are. No, Margaret, I think that's great,
Okay,
Margaret.
good.
Perfect.
Well, it's a good thing you had the answer.
Yeah, it was on my list here.
Okay,
Half of it.
so other information.
I did have a couple other little program things just to let you guys know. We also do have our specialty camps going. Those have been going fantastically. I don't have numbers, unfortunately, for you guys. I meant to, but day camps happening, so I don't have those numbers for you. I apologize, but they've been great. And our aquatics program, I wanted to let you guys know, did end last Thursday. Was our final day of our 6 weeks of aquatics. And despite all of the challenges and changes, it was a great program.
Good.
We had people out there learning to swim, having a good time, and we actually had a great turnout for our last day of public swim, our last Saturday. I want to say we had about 30 people, which is pretty good
Wow.
for out there. So yeah, it was a great, successful season.
Is the expectation that the Nordoff pool will be available next summer?
It's the hope. We have not had that
Better word.
conversation.
Okay.
Yep. That my personal expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We haven't had the conversation with them, but my understanding was just construction this summer. Yep. That's all I had.
Just a clarification. So the numbers that you were talking about were day campers.
Correct.
Got
So
it.
we have our day camp and our specialty
Got it.
camps.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah, for your next meeting, we can have full stats on day camp and specialty camp last year versus this year, because the camp will be over by then.
Okay.
And the other classes that are going on are maintaining numbers, so
Mhm.
Right.
Kung Fu and all the different ones. So
Mhm.
the classes are also,
Right.
And the wild classes are sold out as well? The Ojai Wild is sold out as usual?
Summer sold out completely, absolutely, and they have a lot of fall offerings that
Great.
coming up.
last camp, which is August 12th,
Mhm.
not next week, but the week after that,
Mhm.
has
24.
Yeah.
It's full at 24. They've had a great summer.
Do you get many calls during the week from seniors who are looking for activities that aren't already being offered?
We don't get a lot of calls. We have our senior strength program is which we now changed to adult strength because we do
Very
have some
nice.
non-seniors in
Yes.
there, so that's been great. But no, we don't get many.
Okay.
We do have we have some seniors that come and play pool and play ping pong and such in our game room, but we don't get a lot of requests for other activities.
And I believe for Gary's classes, he said he's getting approximately, around 50 a month that participate.
Yeah.
So-
And they can come at any time, right? I mean, they don't have
The
to
drop-in,
call
right?
and
Drop-in class.
it's a drop-in kind of thing. or-
Right, so he has specific class times, but you don't have to register for the month. You can come and just do it on a drop-in basis.
I think seniors would like that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Maybe that should be promoted a little bit more.
Yeah, so we,
Because I
ev-
would like that as long as they don't have, a huge commitment. then
Right.
They're gonna come.
The
Right.
drop-in format. Yeah.
right, absolutely, yeah, we
See,
can.
so many of them I don't think know.
Okay, yeah, we could try and emphasize a bit more that, come just drop in, type verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
We
we-
do, every time an activity guide goes out, the following week, every time it goes out in the mail, that following week, we get 3 to 5 new seniors coming in saying, I got this activity guide and I had no idea you guys had a adult strength program.
Do we have flyers up at Little House?
At Little House, yeah, so we exchange, they have a program that they give to us that we put on our counter and we give them our activity guide. Yep.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Good information. All right. Item 10, Commissioner Committee reports and comments. Valleywide has nothing to report at this time. Facilities Committee, we haven't met yet. Ojai, OUSD partnerships, we have not done yet. Pool Committee, if you'd like to make a report.
No, there is nothing to say.
Okay. And then we need to add pickleball to this list,
Oh.
as well as we've dropped inadvertently the Youth Committee. We need to add that back on.
Oops.
And you and I need to meet to talk about
Yes.
that youth committee.
And then we'll find another commissioner who wants to meet. And until we do that, if you guys want to just let me know, I'll come.
And I just have a comment that and apology's not the right word, but I'm just not available much. I work too much and I notice you're on almost every committee, which takes a lot of your time. And I was supposed to be on the pickleball committee, but they meet on Thursday afternoons and I'm working.
I know.
So, if there's a way to schedule stuff around my pretty full schedule, I'd love to be on one of these, but
Okay.
they all meet during the day and I'm just not available.
That's fair. I understand.
So I'm surprised that you don't have any meetings at night? You don't have any meetings
For committee work?
where Pat could.
Well, the ones that I've been involved in the past have all been daytime meetings at 10 or 11 o'clock, and people get tired.
Well, if-
I guess.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying is a lot of people are like you, Pat.
Yeah.
They all work. And, I'm sure that they're probably the same situation.
Yeah, it's just, my schedule's worse than most. I'm 9 to 7, 5 to 6 days a week. So I'm just not home much.
And often these involve staff.
Yeah.
And so if we're working with staff, we are typically trying to
On
work
their
business
clock.
hours because we're
Right.
working their clock. And these are not public meetings so much. I mean, not that they're not available. Some of them are, some of them aren't to the public, but they are to do the committee work. And so, and if we're working with other agencies, it's typically going to be during business hours
Yeah,
too.
and I have no problem if somebody on the committee needs help with research, I can do that from work. I just can't be physically present, and that's a hindrance sometimes, so anything I can do beyond that, just let me know.
Yeah. Well, and I think we should thoughtfully think about where we could, where we can flex and which ones would have
Slot me
more.
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll add pickleball ad hoc committee
Yeah,
and
and
add
youth
the youth committee to our list because the youth committee was there and we just dropped it.
Full week
Yep.
work.
Inadvertently.
You want that under the commissioner committee reports?
Yeah.
And then who's going to, on the commissioners, who's going to be on who'll be the rep? You'll be the rep.
I will for now, and then we'll pickleball. It's Susie and I already. We decided that, and then for youth, I'll do it. I'll start it up, and then we'll see who is interested and how it works out. And we will also slot in Phoebe as well. The two of
Oh,
you will
yes.
run that together,
Definitely.
hopefully, and then
And then Raquel will be the.
they could co-chair it.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have a council member, so that's quick, because that was our next item.
Yeah.
Future meeting dates and agenda items. Biking and bike path safety. So, how about we'll come up with a better name, but we're gonna look at biking around Ojai in the city, and we'll kind of flesh out what we want, and if people have suggestions to staff, send them in, and we can work on how to work that agenda item up.
And it might be a good idea to invite Souza or somebody else to,
Or some people from the committee or
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
present on what work they've done. And Greg Grant can do a pretty good presentation on all that they're already funding
I
and
think
what's
it
going to
would be
happen.
Really important to have him.
Yeah, because he,
Well, Susan too, but definitely important to have him because I look at that project from, a person that knows nothing about, what it's gonna take. And I'm confused. So it would be wonderful to have him.
so maybe that's our start. Maybe we start by inviting Greg in to explain to us all of the projects that have been adopted and funded
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how that's going to work, and then what is beyond that they're working toward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when it pertains to biking.
Yeah.
That you would be
Oh, just
killing two
specifically
birds-
bike. I think
killing two birds with one stone, having him to explain everything and then seeing what we need to do to make biking safe in this town.
And I think he would
Okay.
specifically just address biking that night. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be asking for anything else.
Good, I think that's great.
Okay. All right.
and we should have an update on pickleball,
Every month.
right? Every
Yeah,
month. That's just gonna be an
absolutely.
ongoing
It's an
agenda
ongoing item,
Great.
yes, while we're working on it. Our joint meeting will come up next time and we'll continue to flesh that out because next month will be our last time to have input.
Yeah,
Oof, so one more thing to try and get much of it done this month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll see if Ryan wants to assist with that.
Okay.
And I'll work on the PowerPoint for next time.
And I'll help if you need me, wherever you need
I'm
me.
confused, why is it the last meeting? I don't understand.
September is our last meeting before the joint meeting. It's in October.
Oh.
So our monthly meetings limit us to our amount of time to work on things.
Gotcha.
and is
So-
the joint meeting
It's on a
before our
Tuesday.
September meeting?
No,
Or
it's in
October,
Oc-
excuse me,
it's-
our October meeting?
I think it's October 7th, so I think you'll have a meeting in October, but we won't have much time to
Right,
make edits or
right, so we can
anything.
fine tune if necessary.
Yes, if,
That-
if
yes.
there's something that
Alright.
needs to be changed.
Good to know.
Let's see. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna look
Tuesday, October 7th, I believe, is that joint meeting with council.
So we'll have already, we'll have ours the 3rd. It'll come the 7th. Okay,
Perfect.
cool.
I would make a suggestion that for those of us that will not be able to be at September, I know I won't, I'll be on the
Okay.
East Coast for a month. That we could get an update from the committee about how that meeting went ahead of time.
Which meeting?
The meeting in September.
Were you on here? You
You
know,
said committee, so I just wasn't clear.
If you're inclined, and you might not be, you can watch it online, live.
No, I cannot.
There you go. I don't blame you. I was just saying, if you were inclined. Okay. You're gonna be
I
off the
won't-
grid?
I won't be in an area.
Good for
where
you.
there's any communication.
Congratulations.
okay? So, yeah.
But you can watch it anytime. Like if you get back and you want to know exactly what happened at that meeting, you can watch it at any time on the city website as well. So
But Allison, is there a way that we can get information, like you email or whatever?
yeah, I can send out if you're talking specifically for the joint meeting.
that joint
Yeah, I could send you that PowerPoint presentation.
That would be great if you
Yeah,
don't mind, 'cause
yeah,
I
absolutely.
Definitely would not.
That's a great way to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so anyone else know they won't be here for September? Of the people that are here? Okay, good to know. So the only new thing we're adding is we're gonna look at Greg, getting Greg in to
Yes.
talk about biking and all that's going on. We'll see if it works for next month, but if it doesn't, we'll get it as soon as we can get him on the
Yeah,
schedule.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay. All right, I think that's all we have. So we are adjourned at, let's call it 6:56.
Yeah.